Welcome to the biggest episode of the series here in the Montreal Expos franchise. Today, we find out who will be the cornerstone piece of this franchise going forward as we have the number 3 pick in the draft today. But first, in season 1, our first round draft pick was Bill Hedger, and Hedger has had a really good minor league season. He's definitely turned it around and adjusted to professional pitching. He's hitting .266 and he's made the NL Futures team, so he will play in the Futures game before we head into the draft. But he is going to be a very big piece of the future. When we drafted him, he was just 79 potential, but who knows, with a productive season, that could elevate to above a C. So here he gets to start at first base. In his first pitch, he sees down on a 3-2 pitch. Is driven deep to center field, and it is caught over the shoulder. He hit that one perfect, though. A perfect swing, ends up just being a fly ball. On to his second AB now in the bottom of the 4th inning. A 2-2 pitch hit to right field. That one will get down for the first single of the game for Hedger. And I imagine he's going to project to be a DH or just a first baseman. I don't think he's a very good fielder, nor does he have a very good arm. So he's definitely going to have to show what he can do with his bat, and that's really going to have to be his calling card. Here in his third AB, he gets one over the middle of the plate in the 6th inning and drives it to left center field for a 2-hit game for Hedger. And after that, the manager will pull him, but a very good showing in front of a lot of fans in the stands looking to see the futures of tomorrow. And Hedger is pulled out the game, but they do end up losing this one. But it's good to see Hedger actually hitting the ball well. His success at the plate is going to be very, very pivotal as to what moves we're going to make in the offseason. If I don't see any production in him for the rest of the season, it might leave some question marks. So here we go. The MLB Draft here in 2025. Last year, there was a generational prospect who was a number 1 MLB ranked prospect, Efrain Handy, who ended up dropping to number 4 and went to the Athletics, who have the first pick this year. And then number 2 was Rich Cabrera. He was really, really good. He was one of my top players in the draft. I knew he was going to be a good hitter, and he looks amazing so far. Off to a good start with the Reds, and he's already at the MLB level. So here we go. Let's enter the MLB Draft as we have the number 3 overall pick. Picking ahead of us is, of course, Oakland, and the Rockies are picking number 2. The top 3 prospects on our board: Luis Davila, the generational catcher, projected to go number 1. Joseph Norris, an all-around outfielder out of Clemson, and Tom Swanson, the big-time hitter out of the University of Florida. Let's not waste any time. Let's get the draft underway. And here we go. The Oakland Athletics, or maybe the Vegas Athletics now, have the number 1 overall pick. And with their selection, they will select Joseph Norris, outfielder out of Clemson. This is a big-time power move by the Athletics. They already have a really good outfielder they drafted last year, and now they add some more to him in Joseph Norris. Matter of fact, not only do they have Efrain Handy, who I just said is an outfielder, he's actually a shortstop, they signed Juan Soto in the offseason. So you add Norris to Soto and Efrain Handy, and you have a core big 3 in the Athletics organization. This is a very good draft pick. They did not draft the generational catcher, but Norris, to me, was the guy we were going to select. So with the number 2 pick, the Rockies are up next, and they will select Val Ungerer, pitcher out of Iowa. And shockwaves have been sent through the MLB Draft with this selection. Val Ungerer was the best pitcher in all of college baseball, but I had no idea the Rockies would double up. After last year they drafted a pitcher in the top 5. They double up and go after the top college pitcher the following year. I really thought they were going to go with the generational catcher, but their scouts decide to go pitching over the generational prospect in Luis Davila. I cannot believe this, but Luis Davila has fallen into our laps here at number 3. I would have never expected that we would have the chance to draft him after we discovered he was generational. I thought the Athletics were just going to be rich with 2 generational prospects, but wow, Luis Davila is there. I really can't believe it. Is there a case for Tom Swanson? I don't think so. But Tom Swanson is a great player, and I would have been happy to select him at number 3. But the card is in. With the number 3 overall pick, the Montreal Expos will select Luis Davila, catcher out of Illinois, 18 years of age. He's a generational prospect if there ever was one. I cannot wait to see what he can do. Here he is playing at the 2025 World Championship for Team USA, where he hit the ball exceptionally well. He won MVP at the World Championships with 2 home runs, hit one to opposite field, then hit one deep to right, as you can see right there. He has a spectacular upside, and he's going to be one of the bright young players in the future of the MLB. Wow. This is crazy. Tom Swanson ends up going number 4 right after us, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 went exactly how I expected it to go, but I thought Unger was going to be there at 4, but instead Tom Swanson goes number 4. He's an excellent hitter. He's going to be an excellent pro in probably maybe even the next couple years, but the Kansas City Royals do have a couple of guys maybe ahead of him in the farm system, but he should be up at the MLB level in short order. So we go through the rest of the first round here. Steve Tumolo was a guy I thought was generational too. I guess we'll have to reveal his ratings a little bit later, but he could be. He was a guy I scouted. I thought he was going to be when he started to drop, so I definitely ignored him at that point. Efrain Copen, who we had nailed as our second pick in the second round, I guess. We were really going to go after him. He's an 18-year-old guy. He started to rise up the boards pretty early, and I liked what I seen from him, but I thought he would maybe go a little earlier than expected. In the competitive balance round A, the run on relief pitchers is real. 4 closing pitchers in a row, then the Miami Marlins get a relief pitcher, then the Reds get a closing pitcher, then David Song, who I really liked in this draft. He was C potential, but he was a really good 18-year-old player. And I look at our draft board, and here at pick number 41, a lot of the guys that we actually were scouting are still available. Gregorio Camacho is one of those top guys in this draft that went unnoticed and has kind of risen up the draft boards. He started unranked. Now we have him ranked pretty high. Our scouts are really high on him. It would be adding another lefty into our organization, which I'm not opposed to. We do have quite a few of them now, but I do like what Camacho brings. At 18 years old, he will also have time to develop. Then there's Carlos Samuels, who took a break from baseball last year, so his potential's a little lower than what it could have been if he would have came out last year. But since he has returned and really has been training for the draft, he looks pretty good. But the top guy to me is Diego Guerrero out of Miami. You want to talk about a guy that's going to be a guaranteed A potential. He's going to be between 65 and 70 overall. He's really good. And then my final guy remaining is Jaime Ramirez, who is Guerrero's teammate in college. But Jaime is a really good bat. We just drafted a bat, and I don't know if I can pass up on Diego Guerrero with our second round pick. And the card is in, and he is the selection. Guerrero is going to be really, really good. A potential guaranteed 65 to 70 overall. I hope it's 70. Man, I hope it's 70. That would be amazing. But he's got a lot of upside. His hits per 9 is going to start out somewhere between 70 and 80. He's going to be that good right away. So there is a chance, and in this world, that Guerrero could be up at the MLB level in really short order. So our first 2 picks are in as we look at some other notable picks here in the second round. I really was looking at Eddie Slinger, the catcher out of Iowa. he was the catcher for Ungerer, and he's a really good hitter. But we already got Davila, so I'm not really that mad at that. But Jaime Ramirez was going to be my next pick, and he goes to who else? The Toronto Blue Jays, the team that we're going to have to face as rivals throughout this series. And Jaime Ramirez, one thing I like about him is that he is an elite level fielder. We do not have any elite defensive players in our outfield at all in our organization, so we really need to add that. Like, that's going to be one of our priorities in the future. We need an outfielder who can really make a difference defensively. Another notable guy, Darnell Conine, is one of those guys that's a 4-year player in college, and he would have translated pretty well and we would have had time to develop him. But we make it to the 3rd round, and look who's still here. Literally the same players that we just saw in round 2. Gregorio Camacho is our 11th ranked prospect in the draft according to our scouts, and I think he's just being overlooked at this point, and he has fallen down the board. And at 18 years old, we will have a lot of time to develop him, so I really, really like him. But then what about Carlos Samuels? We could be taking a risk here. I think Samuels can be a strikeout pitcher in the future. And then there's Roger Pinto, who is a guy that is kind of flying under the radar a little bit. But the time is running out. We got to make a decision. And after deliberation with the scouts, with the 3rd round pick, we will draft Gregorio Camacho, the 18-year-old pitcher who's got a lot of upside. He's going to come in somewhere between 72 and 95 potential. He's going to be really good, and I am very, very happy with that selection. So later in the draft, I am looking at more MLB Pro ready, or at least close to being MLB ready players. And one guy that goes a couple of picks after we just drafted Camacho was Josh Richards. I love this kid. He's out of Richmond. He's out of UConn, a very good college hitter. I was hoping to get a decent outfielder who I know can play defense, and I know that can hit the ball well, and this kid can really do both of those things. And I'm actually kind of sad because he was going to be a mid-C potential, but he's going to have a high upside as a MLB player. Not just saying his potential, but as a player itself. So we move on to the 4th round, and Ray Robbins, a catcher who we're looking at catchers a lot here. And then guess what? Roger Pinto goes the pick before us. And I was thinking that he was going to be our selection next because we had looked at him before the draft. I really, really liked him. But Carlos Samuels is still here. Our scouts are very, very high on Samuels. He's our 19th ranked according to them. To me, I like him. He just needs a lot of development, to be honest. Right now, I think he's going to start out with some lower attributes, but I would be damned if I passed on him. With our 4th round selection, we're getting very good value in drafting Carlos Samuels. Our scouts are very, very high on him. He's going to come in with a B potential. With that, we know that's a guarantee. His overall is probably going to be in the lower 60s, around 63, maybe 64 overall. But he is a guy that took a year off from baseball, so he's going to need to develop those skills a little more. But I cannot be more happier than this selection here in the 4th round because we get very good value. And I don't think we've drafted anybody that's probably going to be less than a B potential at this point. So on to the 5th round, and we have a couple of guys to look at here. The first one is Esteban Ibarra. He was a guy that our scouts discovered as well. Our discovery was very, very good this year. Ibarra has high upside as a defender. He has a very strong arm, and I think his bat is developing still, but I think he can be an okay hitter at the MLB level eventually. I do want to draft a guy that's more closer to being ready to the MLB now that we're in the 5th round and we know what our first 4 picks were. Those were high potential guys. And now I look at more, like I said, close to pro ready guys. A guy that really sticks out to me is Todd Melendez, a guy that is one of the better hitters in college baseball out of the University of Pittsburgh. And I think this guy is going to be really, really good at translating to the pro game. He can hit it all around the field as well. He also has a very strong arm at third base. He's going to be a good fielder eventually, maybe not right away, but I think he's going to be really, really solid. So with our 5th round pick, we will select Todd Melendez. I really, really like his upside, especially with that strong arm at third and especially a big bat in the lineup. I need a guy who can get on base and score runs. That is one thing we are struggling to do at the MLB level, is score runs. So having a guy that can hit as well as Melendez can is going to be very, very good for our future. And like I said, you can't always draft guys with these super high potentials. You want to get guys that can contribute early as well. That's kind of my draft strategy. So heading into the 6th round with our final pick, I highlighted Esteban Ibarra in the last round, and he is still available. So I think that Ibarra is going to be a high potential player. If I look at him just how he is right now, he looks kind of like a low B potential. We don't have him fully scouted. But do we go with another more MLB close to being ready guy like Richard Cho? But I think we look at Ibarra versus Cho, and I do like what I see more from Ibarra. Are there other guys here? How about Jordan Nichols? He is the 116th ranked player on the board, and we're at 169. So either way, we're getting really good value here. But we decided to go back to Esteban Ibarra, the 18-year-old out of Illinois. Fun fact, Esteban Ibarra and Luis Avila went to high school together. So these high school teammates reunite in the pros as they both go to the Expos. Now, Ibarra has pretty good potential, but his bat does have to develop. And as a 6th rounder, he's going to have pretty much no pressure on him to turn into something. But he's got a strong arm at third. Look at that play right there. Maybe one of the most impressive that I've seen from him. He's going to be a good player eventually, and he's going to have the time to develop. So that concludes our draft. We draft very, very well, in my opinion. I think this draft definitely blows the other drafts out of the water. There was a lot of value in this draft. There, I believe, was probably more than one generational guy. I think there could be. I saw some 18-year-olds who I thought could be generational, but I decided not to go scout them further. But I guess we'll reveal that next episode as we look at the rest of the draft. But our farm system now looks really good. I look at Gary Shoemaker, who's our number 1 prospect in our organization, and Gary Brooks. Those 2 guys are 2 top pitchers, and now they have the luxury to develop a little more, especially seeing what we got in Guerrero. I really love Guerrero and what he's going to bring to the table. I think he could immediately go and be our number 1 prospect behind Luis Avila, obviously, but I like Avila a lot. And I've never had a generational prospect before. I don't know if he's going to go straight to the pros or start at AAA. I don't know what the case is going to be, but I am so excited that we have him to build around. And this franchise is now alive and well. So let me know what you guys think of the draft. I wanted a full episode dedicated to just the draft. And next episode, we will get into the trade deadline. And I think this draft really changes what we do at the deadline also, because now we have the future pieces to make this a dynasty eventually. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tinted. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side. But I'm from the east side, this how we slide. This how we ride, yeah, this how we ride.